Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I want to direct it towards the Pulsechain community, specifically those that are validating on Pulsechain. And I want to briefly go over the top 3 reasons why you should at least consider validating on X1 right now. Now, if you are new here and want to become an X1 validator, check in the description below where I go over a free tutorial on how to get set up. Guys, it's super easy, as you'll see in a second. But ultimately, let's start with the first one. Okay, so more rewards and less risk. What do I mean by that? There's no risk of being slashed. So as you guys know, in Pulsechain, if there's a bad actor that's validating, you stake your 32 million Pulse per validator. Something happens, whether intentional or unintentional, that is not good for the system. You get slashed. You lose half of your bags. Whereas in X1, they don't have that penalty, so to speak. And so, at least not yet. And so what that means is that really on X1, you don't have the risk of being slashed if you mess up on your validator, whether, again, if you're a bad actor or if you are someone who's just trying to get it set up and you made a mistake, you don't get penalized. So that's the first one. Also, customizable commissions. So unlike Pulsechain, where rewards only come from validating, X1 lets you earn passive income from others delegating to your stake or to your validator, right? So it's delegated proof of stake. So with Pulsechain, when you stake your 32 million Pulse, you get rewards. And if you want another one, you can do 2, 3, 4, as many validators as you want that you can afford. Whereas with X1, you just need one validator, and you yourself can stake your entire XNT, which is the native token on X1. You can delegate to your own validator. Now, that also means others in the community can delegate to your validator as well. And you can earn a commission on that, which you can set anywhere between 0% to 100%. And anyways, it's just another way if you have a big following in Pulsechain, like, for example, David Feeder. He's the one who is, I think he's the #1 validator on Pulsechain Validator Store. What's cool about that is that it allows you to, instead of just showing people how to get set up with a validator, you can actually have, or David Feeder can have his community delegate to him, which is pretty cool. All right, so continuing on here, ridiculously easy setup. And when I say ridiculously, it truly is ridiculously easy. On Pulsechain, David Feeder made it super easy to get set up with a Pulsechain validator. Now, imagine taking how easy that was, but on X1, we actually have, thanks to a few community members, specifically a guy named Blackbeard, he created a script called X1 console, and it essentially allows you to create your validator within minutes. It's super easy to set up. So again, X1 console, that's what it's called on X1. It's a think of it as a program you put in terminal, and it makes it super easy to get set up. And I think I did the math. It's only 5 lines of code that you actually have to do, and you're just copy pasting, and then you're set up with your validator. So you don't need your 32 million Pulse requirement. The Pulsechain requires, right now, today's market value, about $1,000 per validator, whereas X1 has no minimum stake, so making it more decentralized and accessible to smaller validators, which is huge. And then finally, guys, early adopter advantage, and this is probably one of the biggest reasons. Love it or hate it, X1 is coming, and if you want to become an X1 validator, Jack Levin and the X1 Foundation team made it very clear that they want to offer an incentive for early validators to participate. And we don't know what this is going to look like yet, but the moral of the story is that it's when you combine it being super easy to set up an X1 validator, you don't really need to be technical or a developer to set it up, at least using X1 console. But when you combine that with the early incentive program, it could be very lucrative in the early days without much risk, right? You don't have to put up a lot of capital to begin with. It's only $160 per month for the server, And worst case scenario, you don't want to do it anymore, or you don't want to participate, and you can just remove it. So there's that early adopter advantage, and then early incentives available for those who, again, set up the validators now. There's just not a lot of competition, right? As more validators come online, well, then the rewards aren't as lucrative, but hence why you want to get in sooner rather than later. All right, guys, and to wrap it up, if you're a Pulsechain validator, running an X1 Validator is a no-brainer. The reason being, again, lower cost to entry, right? You don't need to have that 32 million Pulse lockup. You can get started for $160 to get your server set up. It's an easier setup. I thought copy pasting was easy, but now imagine taking that and automating that process through a script. Again, it takes 5 minutes, 5 lines of code. It's pretty cool. There's less risk. There's no slashing. In X1, they want to reward positive behavior. They don't want to necessarily penalize for bad behavior. And the system still works that way, which is awesome. More earning potential. Again, because there's so few validators, I think there's only around 230 validators, whereas Pulsechain, gosh, I don't remember the last time I looked, but it was thousands of validators, right? So there's less competition. And then when you combine that with the fact that there's that early bonus incentive for validators to get up online, that's almost like a multiplier in the early days. It's not going to last forever. It might only last a month or so, but it's really just to jumpstart the ecosystem. So definitely more earning potential. And then finally, guys, customizable commissions. Again, this is really if you wanted to set up your validator, and then if you find, hey, I love X1, I want to stay in it, then you can tell your friends and family, you can actually have them delegate to your validator. They still control their own keys. They still control their own XNT, but it's pretty cool because you could, in theory, earn passive income that way using other people's stakes and offer a small commission on whatever is made. Anyways, guys, again, if you are interested in at least exploring it, check out the description below. Again, it's a free tutorial on how to get set up. 5 lines of code. I think it's $160 per month for the server, which in the description and in the instructions, it tells you what the hardware specs are. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.